Greetings, welcome back to Black Bear News. I'm going to continue this little broadcast tonight. I'm going to read from the Arctic News, Sam Carana, whoever that may be. This is from today. How much warmer is it now? Is the title of this entry. Starts off with there's a lot of graphics that he uses in these articles. It starts with a little graphic. It's 1.73 C above pre-industrial with a monthly peak of 2.37 C above pre-industrial, meaning I guess 1.73 is the average. But we're peaking as high as almost 3C. So there you go. The IPCC appears to be strongly downplaying the amount of global warming that has already occurred and that looks set to eventuate over the next decade or so. According to a leaked draft of the IPCC's special report on 1.5C above pre-industrial, the first order draft of summary for policymakers estimates that the global mean temperature reached approximately 1C above pre-industrial levels around 2017-2018. Let's go over the numbers step by step by following the image below, line by line, and click on the image to enlarge it. Okay. NASA's data for the two most recent years for which data are available, 2016-2017, show a warming of 0.95 C when using a baseline of 1951 or 1980, and a warming of 1.23 C when using a baseline of 1890 or to 1910. In other words, using this earlier baseline results in an additional 0.28 C rise. When using an even earlier baseline, i.e. 1750 or pre-industrial, it could be 1.53 C warmer, as discussed in an earlier post. In other words, merely changing the baseline to pre-industrial, as agreed to at the Paris Agreement, can show that we're already above the 1.5 C guardrail that the Paris Agreement had pledged we should not cross. There's more. As a recent publication points out, most methods that calculate the global temperature use sea surface temperatures. Most methods that calculate the global temperature use sea surface temperatures. However, doesn't it make more sense to calculate the temperature of the air just above the sea surface? Measuring air temperature at the surface is done in the case of temperatures over land, where one doesn't measure the temperature of the soil or rocks when telling people how warm it is. Since air surface temperatures are slightly higher than sea surface temperatures, the result of looking at air surface temperatures across the globe would be a temperature that is approximately 0.1 C warmer. Furthermore, many areas in the Arctic may not have been adequately reflected in the global temperature, e.g., because insufficient data were available. Since the Arctic has been warming much faster than the rest of the world, inclusion of those areas would add another 0.1 C to the rise. Adding this to the above 1.53 C rise makes that it's already 1.73 C warmer than pre-industrial. Another question is over what period measurements should be taken when assessing whether thresholds have been crossed. When focusing on temperatures during specific months, the rise could be much higher than the annual average. So, does it make more sense to look at a monthly peak rather than a long-term average? When building a bridge and when calculating what load the bridge should be able to handle, it makes sense to look at peak traffic and at times when a lot of heavy trucks happen to be on the bridge. That makes a lot more sense than only looking at the average weight of cars driving over the bridge during a period of, say, 1, 2, or 30 years. Accordingly, the right panel of the top image shows numbers for February 2016 when temperature anomalies were particularly high. When looking at this monthly anomaly, we are already at 2.37 C above pre-industrial, i.e., well above the 2C guardrail that the Paris Agreement had pledged we should definitely not cross. Should the temperature rise be calculated using a longer period? The IPCC appears to have arrived at its temperature rise estimate by using an extrapolation of near-term predictions of future warming so that the level of anthropogenic warming is reported for a 30-year period centered on today. The image below from an earlier post shows global warming for a 30-year period centered on January 2018 using NASA 2003 to January 2018 LOTI anomalies from 1951 to 1980, adjusted by 0.59 C to cater for the rise from pre-industrial to 1951 and 1980, and with the polynomial trend added. Whew, that was a lot going on in that sentence. So the image is showing global warming for a 30-year period centered on January 2018. Above image illustrates the importance of what's going to happen next. The temperature rise up until now may well be dwarfed by what's yet to come, and the outlook may well be even worse than what the above trend suggests. The image below from an earlier post shows how the rise from 2016 to 2026 could take place twice as fast as the above trend due to the combined impact of the warming elements listed in the left box of the image below. Talking about CO2, CO2 will add 0.5 C between the years 2016 and 2026. Aerosols, 2.5 C. Snow and ice decline, 1.6 C. Woo! Seafloor methane, 1.1 C. Water vapor, 2.1 C. Further feedbacks, 0.3 C. Total rise from 2016 to 2026, 8.1 C. Good Lord. The rise from pre-industrial to 2026 temperature could be 9.68 C. Meanwhile, the rise in carbon dioxide levels appear to be accelerating, as illustrated by the images below. Indeed, despite pledges made at the Paris Agreement to limit the temperature increase to 1.5 C above pre-industrial, the rise in CO2 since pre-industrial, i.e. 1750, still appears to be accelerating. The last CO2 reading from March 11th, 2018, 410 parts per million. On March 18th, 2018, the sea surface temperature near Svalbard at the Green Circle was 16.7 C, or 62.1 Fahrenheit, i.e. 14.7 C warmer than the daily average during the years 1981 to 2011. On March 30th, 2018, methane levels as high as 2,624 parts per billion were recorded. The situation is dire and calls for comprehensive and effective action as described in the climate plan. And the climate plan seems fairly laughable. I'm sorry to say that, but if y'all haven't checked it out, there's a link there. You can look at the climate plan. It's like, I don't know, all these ideas about what to do, how to combat this, or stop this, or change the course of history. All of them are what ifs. All of them are like, we got to do this, but it's not a lot of people seem to be listening, or not a lot of people seem to be thinking through what it actually is going to take to implement these measures. And I don't know if it's you know, now we have even, you know, Guy McPherson saying that maybe we should start taking some kind of techno fix seriously. I mean, if we're looking at 10C in the next 10 years, we're going to do anything like that. You know, but, you know, his message previously was that this is a foolish endeavor, that it may make things worse. I mean, if we're at 10C in 10 years, I don't know how much worse it can get, but that's pretty worse. Yeah, you know, I mean, I guess one of my probably, you know, totally unproven and completely maybe fallible theories is that if we actually took, you know, I mean, obviously there are a lot of factors involved in stopping all this. There's global dimming, there's nuclear reactors, there's, you know, there's a lot of things that say, like, if we put the brakes on immediately tomorrow, we'd do more damage. So obviously, you know, a slow, steady, you know, walk down the steps of you know, greenhouse gas emissions has to be, you know, maybe not slow, but, you know, some kind of steady walk down as we, you know, do something else, raise, you know, plant trees, stop using, you know, industrial agriculture, lower our populations, you know, start taking nuclear power plants apart, start taking warheads apart, start dismantling industrial civilization as we know it, start, you know, start switching over to small, organic, permaculture, personal agriculture, and as a means to feed ourselves. You know, stop industrial fishing. If we just stopped industrial fishing, period, point blank, you know, how quickly would fish populations rebound? You know, and all of this seems like a monumental, stupendously impossible task, but we can start thinking about what this looks like. I don't know. We also need to start thinking about how, you know, trying to elect politicians who are actually talking about this, trying to elect politicians who are not going to take money from corporate sponsors, PACs, et cetera, ad infinitum. There are so many answers that seem impossible to implement, but you know, talking about those answers is not a bad thing to do. I think describing the road is much more productive than describing the problem or describing the situation, because we know what the situation is. It's describing the road that is where the actual work takes place. What's the road? What does it look like? How quickly do we need to do this? And that's a realistic road. That's not a Paris Agreement road. That's a, you know, industrial civilization must collapse road. You know, this needs to be thought about seriously. It needs to be taken seriously. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience, and your presence, and your voices. We need to continue having the voices that we do and voicing the concerns that we have to all and sundry as much as we possibly can. If you would like to contribute to this channel, you can do so at the links below. I'm going to leave you all tonight. I'll be back hopefully tomorrow with another video or two. Until next time, peace.